And don't forget about us on ESPN2. Chris Canty's Giants, plus the number 3 pick, minus taking a quarterback, equals what? Waiting till you hear how Chris will fill in that blank as the Giants had their private workout with Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado yesterday. They'll also take a long look at Tyler Shuck, who played at Louisville, and also Jalen Milroy played at the University of Alabama. With all that being said, Chris Canty, you've been on record saying, and I'm going to do my best, Chris Canty, pleading, please, Giants, don't do this to your fan base. Don't do this to the city of New York. With all that being said, if they don't take a quarterback like you don't want them to at number 3, even though Shedeur Sanders will be on the board, what could that mean for the New York Giants?
That means that they're going to take the best available player. And that's exactly what they should do because according to our very own Jordan Renan, who covers the New York Giants and is as plugged in as anybody over there, the Giants need everything. There aren't too many positions that you could point to that the New York Giants don't have a team need. He said the only one that he thought might be off the board is safety because they drafted one last year. They signed one in free agency this year, a good one in Javon Holland. Yeah. But other than that, they need everything. We got the reports that the Giants are undecided about the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau, which means the franchise is on the fence about him moving forward and what that looks like now that he's contract extension eligible. So if you're the Giants, you're in a position where you can take the best available player, but you're also in a position where it doesn't make sense to draft a quarterback with the first-round pick, especially a top 5 pick, knowing what the expectations will be while also understanding that your head coach and general manager are on the hot seat.
You mentioned Jordan Renan. We had him on the show yesterday, ESPN NFL Nation Giants reporter, and he said plenty of people in that organization, part of Big Blue Nation, they don't believe that Shedeur Sanders is a top 5 talent.
You don't talk to many people who say, this is a top 5 type talent, a guy that I want to put basically my career on the line for and draft in that kind of premium spot. And really, you know what? People have questions about Cam Ward. I was talking to someone yesterday, like, I would never take that guy. Like, that's the kind of –
Okay.
Like, that's what, like when you draft a player that high, is he a gold jacket player? Does he have a chance to be a Hall of Famer? Can he get into Canton? I don't know if I see that with Shedeur Sanders. But in the same breath, I'm willing to acknowledge that Shedeur Sanders is a quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with if he develops properly.
Okay.
He's got those traits. He's got that type of football IQ. He has that type of accuracy. Shedeur Sanders will make players around him better. I've seen him do that across multiple programs, across multiple levels of college football. So I believe in Shedeur Sanders. I do think he's a true franchise quarterback if put in the right hands and with the right infrastructure around him. But so much of the evaluation and the projection of Shedeur is conditional on the circumstances that he's stepping into. And right now, my rationale for the Giants not taking him is not because I don't think Shedeur Sanders can't play or can't be great.
Okay.
I just don't think that the Giants have the infrastructure in place to properly support and develop a quarterback, knowing that the head coach and the GM are making decisions in the interest of job preservation.
All that is fair. All that is true. But if you believe he can be a generational kind of quarterback and you have a chance to take him at number 3, I know you got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and Tommy Pasta.
What does generational mean, though? That's the thing. Like, we throw that term around. What does it mean?
Because what you just said, that it's going to make people better. He's going to elevate the game of those people on the football team.
Okay.
And playing for the New York Giants with that storied organization.
Okay.
You can be a generational player where your name is up there with the Eli Mannings and the Frank Giffords and the Phil Simpsons and the Lawrence Taylor.
Can I ask you a question? Is Jalen Hurts a generational player?
At the rate he's going to be.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. He's a second-round pick. So right. I guess that's the part.
Rate he's going.
That's the part where it's like you can find generational players if that's how you're defining it.
Okay.
Anywhere in the draft. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the top 5. You can find those.
That's
you can
fair.
find those guys. But
But
the reason why Jalen Hurts is trending toward being a player that's generational is because of the organization that he's with.
Absolutely.
Because of the franchise that he was with. And remember, there wasn't pressure on Jalen Hurts to be the starter. That was a franchise that had just extended Carson Wentz. And not too far removed from that guy in Carson Wentz being in the MVP conversation. So there wasn't pressure on Jalen Hurts to come in and save the day. It's a much different scenario for the New York Giants. there'd be a ton of pressure on Shedeur Sanders to compete with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and win the starting job in camp and potentially be a starter going into the regular season. Like, that's what fans would want. Right. That's what people would be clamoring for. If he wasn't the week 1 starter, it wouldn't be too long before he would be installed as the starter because the Giants, quite frankly, just aren't that good. They're not going to win a lot of football games in 2025. And if you're an owner, your head coach and general manager have to sell you on winning or they have to sell you on hope for the future. I don't think the Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen will be able to sell on winning next season. Their sales pitch to ownership is hope. And that comes in the form of a franchise quarterback that you take in the top 5 pick. And that's why I don't think it would be set up for Shedeur Sanders to have success because they would be pushing him out there on the field and he may not be ready for it or the team may not be ready for it.
Right.
Or a combination of those two. So that's what concerns me about the Giants making that type of commitment to Shedeur Sanders at number 3.
Chris Canty, Freddie Coleman together on a Sportsmanlike presented by Progressive Insurance and ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and also ESPN2. And I've said for the longest time, the Giants have told us what they're going to do at number 3 by what they did at the quarterback position in the offseason.
Yeah.
You don't bring in a Russell Wilson and give him a 1-year contract and $10.5 million in guaranteed money and tell him and he's not going to be the starting quarterback. Or bring in Jameis Winston on a 2-year deal, 1 year with a 1-year option, or sign Tommy DeVito to a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
They have told us what they're doing at number 3 because I firmly believe the guy they want is not in this draft at quarterback. The march for Arch is strong.
No. It's not. No. Hold on.
March for Arch.
Listen, it might be March for Arch on Freddie and Harry. It's awful for Arch on Unsportsmanlike, sir. It's awful for Arch. We got T-shirts made. It's awful for Arch on this show.
Whatever it is.
It's not March for Arch. It's awful for Arch.
Fine.
So when you're on this show, you got to get it right.
That's right. So we're going to go MFA, March for Arch. We'll do AFA, awful for Arch.
Awful
no
for
problem.
Arch. But here's why I say you can't rule it out. Number one, desperation makes for interesting bedfellows. So the Giants are desperate right now.
Yes, they are.
And when you look at Brian Daboll, offensive-minded coach, he hasn't been able to get the most out of that unit because of the instability at the quarterback position. They thought they found their guy in Daniel Jones. Turns out he wasn't the guy. Turns out he wasn't the catalyst for that team that went to and won a playoff game 3 years ago. It wasn't him. It was Saquon Barkley. So the New York Giants over the last 2 seasons have the worst QBR in the NFC. The worst. 16 teams in the conference, they're dead last. QBR 29th over the last 2 seasons.
Yikes.
The New York Giants have the fewest touchdowns, fewest passing touchdowns during that span. That's why you can't rule out them taking a quarterback.
Okay.
There's no way an offensive-minded coach wants to continue to go on with mediocre quarterback play, knowing how inept that unit is and knowing that that's his claim to fame as a coach. The ownership brought him in because they thought he was going to be a good head coach, but I'm sure that ownership didn't suspect that offense would be the impediment to the team being able to win football